Howdy folks, it's your guy.
I want to talk to you about the cheapest handguns in Canada. Now I'm going to preface this. We're going to keep this kind of narrow. So I'm going to go for centerfire only and semi-automatics just to kind of keep it simple here. So these are the kind of things you could take to the range and practice with. Here in Canada, handguns are restricted, so you need appropriate licensing for it. It goes to the range and back, and that's pretty much it. And they gotta have like long barrels, so we don't have any like short barrel little like Saturday night specials or anything like that. They're all these full-size pistols that we have out here. So that's the preface. Why don't we get right into it? Now, the cheapest handgun you're going to find out here is the Tokarev, or sometimes you can find the M57s as well. These are fairly old surplus pistols. They're still available in Canada. You can get them right around $200. I got mine surplus for $170, and they're, I don't know, old and cheap. The trigger pull on them is a single action only. It's 7 pounds, which is pretty heavy compared to some of the other firearms we're going to look at, considering like that's the single action trigger pull that it's got. Reliability-wise, reliability on mine has been really good, but it varies a little bit depending on the kind of ammo you throw into it and that kind of thing. So I would say that the reliability will be like a 7 out of 10. And again, there's some stiff competition it's going up against here, so I got to be a little bit hard on them on something. Aftermarket support. It's pretty hard to find any kind of aftermarket stuff for these things. You can find springs, you can find surplus parts for them. To find like a holster to compete with is going to be really hard. You're not going to find any go fast gear for the Tokarev simply because it's not really used for it, and the kind of ammo it uses is going to be a barrier for some kinds of competition like IPSC and that kind of thing. So little something extra about what's cool with it. The surplus ammo is very cheap, and you can buy it by the crate. And it's got kind of like that old surplus cool to it, which is kind of interesting. Some stuff that sucks about it, I don't really like the sights. They're kind of hard to see and hard to use. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's got a little bit more snap to it because of the cartridge, but it's not that bad. Now, the next one on our list is the Norinco NP34 or NP22. These are their clones of the SIG P226 and SIG P228. Now, SIG's copyright on this is gone, so the other companies can make them, just like you would find a whole bunch of different manufacturers of 1911 these days. When you pull the trigger on one of these things fresh out of the box, the double action on them is very heavy. The double action on mine, I measured it right around 12 pounds. So it's got a pretty long, hard double action trigger pull on it. But after that, you're treated to a 4-pound single action trigger pull because it's going to cycle and it's going to be fine after that. So the single action is actually pretty nice, and it's fine. It's totally usable. Reliability on mine, I would say that the reliability is excellent. I would give it a 9 out of 10. And I'm just going to take 1 point away because where you put your thumb is, where anyone would put their right thumb, is going to hit the slide release, and it's going to cause the slide to go forward on the last round. Or sorry, when the magazine's empty. So you kind of need to train yourself on not doing that. Aftermarket support on these things, fantastic. There's lots of different aftermarket parts out there from the SIG that will fit in the Norinco, including, magazines and grips and all sorts of other different stuff. So these are very easy to modify and improve. If you want to buy a pistol and then upgrade it as you go along, these are a fantastic choice. There's lots of holsters, lots of mag pouches available for these things. So if you wanted to shoot IPSC or some sort of pistol sport with it, it's going to be very easy to do that. The things that suck about it, the grip panels are kind of crappy, the ones that it come with, and it's made in China. So if you don't like buying Chinese products and supporting the Chinese government, don't buy this pistol. Next, we have the Montenegro-made Terra TM9. This is a semi-automatic 9mm pistol from Montenegro, which is kind of interesting. When you use this pistol, one of the interesting things, it's a DA. They call it a DASA trigger. It's not really DASA. You still always get the same 8.5-pound trigger pull is what I measured on mine, regardless if you use the double action or single action mode. And the single action is really just a short reset on when you've cycled the gun. So that's all you really get out of it. Reliability on mine was not great. I had a couple of issues that were magazine related, and one that was just a design flaw in how they designed the safety plunger and how it strikes the magazine feed lips. So that was an issue I had. I also had stovepipes, which shouldn't be magazine related, and were just, reliability issues that I had with the gun. Some other people out there, though, have had really good luck with theirs, and they've run just fine. In terms of aftermarket support, there isn't really anything. There aren't really a lot of other stuff you can use. You'll have to try out different holsters and see if you can find one that works, or get one that's a universal style, such as the Safariland GLS, and you'll have to monkey around with that. But suffice to say, there is not a lot out for this thing right now, and trying to find parts and whatnot is very hard in Canada here. Some of the cool things about it, well, it's a DASA striker fired, which is very interesting, and the price is also really good on these things. They're right around anywhere from $269 to $300, so they're pretty cheap here in Canada. The thing that sucks, they're rare, and trying to find parts and whatnot is going to be hard. So the next pistol I have here, I struggled whether I should even include it. It's the Beretta 92S. This is an older version of, most people know the 92FS. This is an older version. It's got the magazine release on the butt of the pistol, which is a little bit different. And these are surplus pistols from Italy. Now, I thought if I should include it or not, but there's enough of them in country at a certain price point, which is $400, that I thought I would include them. I think the coolest thing on these pistols, one, okay, yeah, they're like a legitimate brand that we're buying here, so the pistol quality is very good. The trigger pull on them is fantastic. Again, a lot of these pistols were used in police service. There would have to be, qualifications they would have to do. They'd have to load it up and unload it at the end of each day. So that kind of use and wear and tear on the guns is actually good. It smooths it out and makes it a fantastic shooter. So the one I had, double action, single action. Double action trigger pull was 9.5 pounds. Single action was 3.25, so 3.75 pounds. Nice light single action trigger, and short. Oh, such a great single action trigger. Even the double action was really nice and smooth on this thing. Fantastic. Reliability, I got to give this one a 10 out of 10. It's made for reliability. The entire top is open so that it can be reliable. And that's really what the Beretta 92 or the M9s are known for, is really good reliability. Aftermarket support, I'd have to give this thing a 9 out of 10. I would give it a 10 out of 10, except it's got a couple of parts that aren't quite compatible with the 92FS series. The grip panels, for example, have to have that little cutout at the back, so that's a little bit different. And the magazines have to have that heel cutout as well, and those are generally a little bit more expensive and hard to find. I would say that the advantages of getting a 92S would be fantastic trigger on it, nice and smooth. If you're not going to shoot IPSC, if you're going to shoot something that's static, standing, and you don't have to reload on the move, fantastic pistol to buy. I'd say that the things that suck, the sights are quite small and hard to see, and the mags will be expensive on these things. And lastly, the Girsan MC28 is the one I'd like to mention as well. This is a Turkish pistol, 9mm semi-automatic. It looks kind of like an M&P 9, but not quite an M&P. Trigger pull on this thing from the factory is 6.5 pounds, so a little bit heavy, but not bad when you compare it to some of the other pistols that we've been looking at. Again, it's 6.5 pounds every time. Reliability on mine was really good. I'd have to say 8 out of 10 on that. And I take just a little bit away from it because I have heard about firing pin breakages on some of these, which may be related to dry fire. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it enough, but the one I shot ran just fine. I'd say aftermarket support on this thing, pretty bad. There's just not a lot out there. It is getting better, though, because these things are being still brought into country. I think they're now called the MC9 or something like that. So there's a new model that's coming in. So I'd say 2 out of 10 for aftermarket support. But you can run some CZ75 mags if you make a little mod to the magazine release, which I think is fantastic because that's going to let you upgrade to a Shadow 1 or a Shadow 2 later if you want to. And again, most of the people who buy these really cheap handguns in Canada, they're beginners and they're just getting going with their handguns. So something like that is an important thing to consider, because you can take your mags and your mag pouches and then turn around and use them on the most popular sporting pistol in Canada here for IPSC and that kind of thing is the Shadow 1 and the Shadow 2. So that's the MC28. So which would I recommend for each different person? If you want something like milsurpy and kind of cool, the Tokarev, of course, that it's got that old school cool to it. If you want to get something and upgrade as you go along and end up with like a like a raced out gun, a kind of a thing, the NP22 is fantastic for that. It's got that full length slide on it, and it takes all those SIG parts, so it's got that going for it. If you do a lot of static shooting from the bench, or if you want to do bullseye shooting or something like that, the Beretta 92S has a fantastic trigger for the price, and is so nice and smooth, and you're not going to be missing anything with that. And finally, if you just want like a combat style handgun, something that you could use in IPSC that's just simple to use, has no safeties, nothing to worry about, just take it out of the holster and start using it, the Girsan MC28 is decent, and the trigger pull on it isn't absolutely horrible like some of the other pistols that I mentioned there. So that's the order that I would go in. Really though, if you can afford it, if you can afford a little bit more money, there's a couple of better options that are in the $400 range or $500 range. I think one of the best deals in an inexpensive pistol is the CZ P10F. They're right around $550, but used you could pick them up for much less. They have a really great trigger, good market support, fantastic brand name, and they've got a nice full-size grip on them, so they feel great in the hand. Some of the other ones you might want to consider in the $400 range would be the Canik TP9, which is very well liked in the US and is starting to gain some steam here. The Smith & Wesson SD9 are right around $450. They're kind of plasticky. I don't know if I would get one for the price. I think there's just better stuff out there. The Norinco 1911 clones are right around $350, $400. But really, you're going to have to throw some more parts at one of those things to make it really sing. And then there's the Girsan Regard, which is a 92 clone, and it's a very good 92FS clone. It'll come with 2 mags. It'll come with the magazine release that's up where it's supposed to be. So if you want something that's Beretta-esque, but better than the 92S for run and gun, the Regard is a pretty good idea. And then there's also some of the surplus Jerichos that you could take a look in as well. So in terms of inexpensive pistols, we've got a couple to look at, not a lot. One thing to consider is that if you get one of these things on a really fantastic sale, or if you buy one of these things used, you're going to be able to shoot it, see if you like it, and then turn around and sell it afterwards for maybe the same that you paid for it, maybe a little bit less. The depreciation on firearms in general is not very high, especially when we're talking about the cheapest ones out there. So consider that you don't have to get the best pistol at the cheapest price. You just need to get the best pistol for you right now. And that might be one that's like kind of crappy, but it's fun and you can take it to the range and make some noise. And that's okay. You don't have to get the absolute best one. Get what you like, shoot it for a bit, and then if you have to sell it, don't worry about it. There's lots to look at, and it's very easy to upgrade without losing a ton of money. So hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching.